classes every year because it's a huge topic for people to understand how they're manifesting and how they're even getting ideas. A lot of the times you're entangling with information. If you go into a laboratory and you take two particles and you use a laser with something called parabolic down conversion, you can get those particles on the same frequency. Once you get those particles to vibrate at the same frequency, you can entangle them. Once they're entangled, what happens is, let's say they were atoms, right? Atoms all have spin rates. So you can get one is spinning rating up and the other one is spinning down, and they're entangled. If I take the atom that's spinning down and take it to the other end of the galaxy, or the other end of the universe for that matter, if I had the capability, if I was to make the one local to me spin up, the one that's down will go up, and vice versa. I can utilize that to send rudimentary communication through ups and downs, zeros and ones, right? So you have this entanglement that happens which bypasses the speed of light. It bypasses space-time. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance, right? So now what scientists discovered later on is that our thoughts phase in and out of this dimension, our synapses between our neurons in our own brain. They disappear sometimes and go where? They say that they're going and entangling with information in other dimensions, other places. So I began to hypothesize that this could be the reason behind ideas popping up in your head, people unknowingly developing the same inventions at the same time in different parts of the world simultaneously, roughly around the same time. And also the capability for people to manifest things and attract things into their life. A lot of the times I believe that this way that you're thinking and focusing your mind, your brain, your conscious energy, it becomes a magnet. So if you look at Einstein's theory of relativity and you look at a planet, you'll see that a planet warps space around it. That's why gravity happens. Things fall toward the mass because space is warped, it's bent. Replace that planet with your consciousness. Now that's warping the ether of this metaverse. And what's happening is things are falling toward you when you focus on them. The things that you want to bring into your life, negative or positive, whatever you focus on is falling toward you. A lot of the times I believe that part of that falling toward, the initiation of it, is an entanglement. When you start to focus your mind heavily on a specific thing that you want to manifest into your life or bring into your reality, somehow those synapses entangle with something in the universe. Then the universe says, send this his way, send this her way, and it begins to fall toward you. And this is how I believe on the spiritual level, this ability for us to attract things into our life and attract our realities into our life based on what we're focusing on, conscious thought, happens. And what's interesting with the conscious thought is we now know that, like I said earlier, our mind is connecting to up to 11 dimensions, which is pretty interesting. So as you're focusing on things, you could even be connecting to information in higher dimensions. Could it be that some psychics, mystics, right? Edgar Cayce, who would go into this type of a half daze and tap into information to give people cures for their illnesses and diseases that would actually work? Could he be tapping into quantum entangled thoughts that exist? He said he would send his mind out into the universe to get the answer because the answers already exist. And he would get the answer back. So in some way, I believe we're all entangling with information throughout the universe. It's just that sometimes we don't discern what that information is. And some people who seem to have these special abilities are able to discern the information as it comes back in, analyze it, and then it can actually even speak on it or utilize it in some way, shape, or form.
Do you think everybody has these abilities?
Yeah, I think everyone
Only
has
a couple
them.
of us have developed them.
Right. I think that we all had them at a higher level. If you look into the ancient texts again, there were people here already, and their bones have been found. Bigger jawbones, much bigger skulls, which means bigger brains, not smaller brains, bigger brains. We know this because there's more mass capacity, more cranial capacity for mass in the skull area. And so we're talking about a very sophisticated cousin of ours that existed here before we became Homo sapiens sapien. And I believe that we all have these abilities natural, you know, telekinesis, telepathy, psychic abilities, and the ability to observe the Earth's magnetic field. All of that was built into us and still is. If you look right now in science, we have billions of magnetite crystals in our heads, but yet you and I can't navigate the Earth without GPS. Why is that? Our magnetite crystals are still tracking Earth's magnetic field. We are completely unaware of it. They took a person, put them into a room, put a giant bar magnet over their head, and put a cap on their head to track the crystals or orientation. The crystals were tracking the orientation of the magnet. We should be able to navigate like turtles and birds do and so forth and else, but we don't have the ability to because why? We've lost our conscious awareness of what's already happening inside of us. Then we have a lot of junk DNA. I don't believe it's junk. I believe that DNA used to be connected and that now it's been disconnected by some artificial force, which has disconnected us from a lot of our natural, everyday, birthright given abilities.
What is junk DNA?
What scientists say is junk DNA is just extra DNA that they have no idea what it's for. It's just kind of laying there, laying around, but it's not used for anything whatsoever. It just happens to just be in the body, but it's totally useless and not plugged into anything.
Okay.
But in my opinion, it's supposed to be plugged into something. It's supposed to be connected. It's supposed to be active. And, we know that DNA is a storage medium of information. A scientist named George Church took his ebook, which was, I forget how many pages it was, a few hundred pages, even multimedia stuff in the book. He then transmitted that book from a computer onto DNA. And then he was able to transmit it back from the DNA back up to the server again into the book. He replicated it then 80 billion times, the book. He replicated on his computer 80 billion times and then put it on the DNA and it fit in one drop. 1 gram of DNA can hold over 433 petabytes of data. So they said, wait a minute, this is crazy. So Microsoft started experimenting with this too. So they were able to take data, zeros and ones, convert it into A's, C's, T's, and G's, which is what read-write is on our DNA, and then put the data in a volume on DNA, and then take the data from the DNA and move it back from A's, C's, T's, and G's into zeros and ones and put it back on another computer. So now they have made a working DNA hard drive, which now you can store immense amount of information. They estimate that one human body can store 13.5 billion years of data.
Wow.
And how old is the universe?
I have no idea.
13.5 billion years. Everything that exists, everything that's happened since the beginning of time is stored inside of your individual body and mine as well.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say to that.
It's massive. We're a walking universal library. We are the way for the universe to figure out and explore the third dimension and understand what it's like to be and live in the third dimension as every individual living thing. And we're all connected through this quantum entanglement. Every single thing that exists is all connected, still connected. Space is an illusion. Distance is an illusion. Separation is all an illusion.
What do you mean it's an illusion?
We appear to be sitting in two separate chairs with a space in between us. Mm-hmm. But we're all atoms on an energetic grid that's connected and has always been connected. So the space in between us appears to be a distance, but if you go on the quantum level, you discover that we're both local. We're still in the same position, which is the original position. This entire universe is made up of a complete holography. We're living in a fractal holographic matrix, a matrix of light. And it doesn't take away from there being a creator, because what I'm telling you about is the method used of this to make this creation. The method is a fractal holographic matrix, a matrix of light. Quantum physicists will tell you that a human being exists both as a wave of light and also solid matter. And they got the first image of a wave converting into solid matter on a special type of camera. This is in physics.org. So in wave particle duality, they discovered that everything in the entire universe exists first as waves of light until a conscious observer interacts with it, and then it collapses. This is hard to wrap your mind around, but imagine this. We're sitting here. Your house, it exists as a wave of potentials, not your house. It's a wave of light. Now, the construction technique of the stacking of those atoms that built your house has a specific resonant frequency, so no matter who looks at it, it always collapses into the same exact shape. But if nobody's looking, it's just a wave of potentials. Until you see it, when you bend the corner, it collapses back into a solid structure. This is now well-known, proven science due to the double slit experiment. If you look that up, you'll find out they took a microscopic box, they put a little gun inside that can shoot individual electrons through slits inside the box to hit the back wall. So the two slits here, And they want these particles to hit the back wall to see if it was going to make a digital imprint on the back wall. Well, when they did this, when they looked, it was waves. So they said, wait a minute, how can there be a wave pattern on the back wall? We shot individual single electrons through the slits. There should be dot, 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 dot. I said, we got to look at this and see what's going on. So they put a camera in the box to see what was happening. When they looked, just looking, all of a sudden the electron said, oh, you're looking at me? Okay, I'm going to go back to being solid matter now. Dot, 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 dot. Took the camera away, waves. Put the camera back, dot, 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 dot. Oh, electrons are conscious. They are aware that they're being observed. And electrons orbit every atom in the universe, which means every atom is conscious. That means you think that you're sitting in a chair that's just made by man. We didn't make this chair. We stacked atoms. We stacked conscious atoms in a format that allowed us to sit on them. Everything is conscious. This chair is conscious. This suit is conscious. Everything is conscious because they're all made of atoms. And all we are ourselves are a stack of conscious atoms observing ourselves right now. You see? And so it gets really deep, man. I can go deeper and deeper, but it's pretty powerful stuff.
Keep going. Keep going.
So the benefit of knowing this, imagine teaching your kids that everything that exists is conscious. A rock, a blade of grass, your clothing, even your book bag is aware. It's conscious. Imagine teaching them how to respect conscious things, the level of respect they will have for their personal items, their bike, their clothing, their book bag, their schoolwork. Understanding and knowing that everything that they interact with, everything they touch or see has a level of consciousness imbued into it. Now you're training your kid to be a super conscious person that understands, like, treat everything that exists, no matter whether we think man made it or it's natural, with respect and dignity. That's the depth of understanding that people need to get to. And when we can get to that level of understanding, whew, wow.
So if we're all, I mean, in which we are, I do understand, if we're all stacked atoms,
Yeah.
stacked conscious atoms,
Yep.
what holds us together?
Electromagnetic forces. That's what holds us together. You don't touch anything. So I may look like I'm touching this chair right now, right? I'm not actually touching the chair. You actually never touch anything. The repulsion of the electromagnetic frequency orbiting the electrons and atoms in my hand are repelling the ones inside the chair, creating a repulsive force, not allowing my hand to pass through the chair, because honestly, atoms are 99.999% empty space. And so what that means is atoms are mostly empty. There's nothing there. The only thing we have is these electromagnetic fields that give us the illusion of separation and solidity. And so if I can obtain the atomic frequency of the vibration of the atoms in this chair and make my hand match that frequency, I would pass my hand right through the chair like it didn't even exist. So there's probably people, beings, maybe on other planets or maybe even here now, that have learned this technique. We're going to match the frequency of this wall and just walk right through. Imagine the military puts on a special suit that can match the frequency of a solid concrete wall and walk right through the wall. It's going to look like magic, but it's just technology. You see, they understand how to match frequencies. If I took all 8 billion people on Earth and took away the empty space in their atoms, I can fit every human being into one sugar cube. There's nothing here. We're not even here. That's how, it's really our higher selves. See, our consciousness doesn't exist. It's not created by the brain, I should say. It exists, but it's not created by the brain. It exists in a higher dimension. It's here in the third dimension now because it's inhabiting this avatar body, but it's coming in on a beam of light, on an invisible beam. We're inhabiting this avatar body. If you understand that your body doesn't create the consciousness, it downloads it. And what downloads it into your body? You have your neurocorrelates of consciousness, which are 3 giant neurons that wrap around the inside of the skull like a giant crown of thorns. Sound familiar? Everyone walks around with a crown of thorns in their head right now. And then you have your neocortex in the front, which is for spatial and higher reasoning. And then you have your magnetite crystals. And so those 3 things together harness and hold in the frequency that is you, that is saying, this is who I am. And it allows you to inhabit temporally, this avatar body until this avatar body gives out and ceases to operate and exist because of entropy, and releases that spirit energy back into the source, where it will then be recycled once again somewhere else. And so this, the understanding of this is just so powerful, because you got to understand that you are already eternal. We're already eternal beings. When you talk to yourself, you're talking to your higher self from a higher dimension. You're speaking to yourself in another realm. We are all supernatural, eternal beings. A lot of people are trying to fight to become eternal, but we already are eternal. We've already been here for eons and eons. There could be people that you know that look like kids that are ancient. And there also can be people that are older people that are newborn babies, spiritually. Could be their first time arriving here in this energy format.
You're talking about old souls.
Old souls, right. Exactly, old souls. There could be a kid that could be ancient, could be eons old. And there could be a lady that could be 70, that could be brand new. First cycle here, first time operating in this energy, in this spiritual energy, in this dimension. So it's a lot to grasp. I know I threw a lot at you at once, but it's such a huge story. I think it's really amazing. For me, it makes me feel more incredible. I feel like I'm part of something super massive and big. I don't think it makes me feel small at all. I feel like because everything is connected, that everything is me and everything is you. If I'm talking to you, I'm really talking to myself. There's only one consciousness that exists.
Well, that was actually a question I wanted to ask you. Do you think that we share consciousness?
Absolutely.
Well, then, if we share consciousness, why is there good and evil? Why are there murderers? Why are there child rapists? Why do all these bad things happen?
It's all aspect of one. So if you look even in the Bible, God says, I create the good and I create the evil. Do what I, saith the Lord. He says he creates the good and the evil, not Satan. He said, I do this. Yin and yang, good and evil, positive, negative. This is what permeates the entire universe.
Do you think there's a way to tap into other, now I'm confused.
Okay.
So if we're all one consciousness,
Yeah.
how can we not tap into each other's consciousness? Or do you believe that we can?
I just told you earlier, there's a way to hack into other people's minds. But let me explain it to you in this way. If you turn on the radio, you can tune into 99.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5. You can change the channel. All those stations are coming from one source, right? A few miles away. And so you have to understand what has been done here. Everything we create is a fractal of what's on the largest scale, as above, so below. So what would a radio be universally? Okay, consciousness says, okay, I want to see what it's like to experience life in this third dimension as everything that can possibly exist in every format. So I'm going to transmit out these frequencies. 99.1, Billy Carson. 99.2, you. 99.3, Jane Doe. 99.4, so forth and so on. And so these frequencies are encapsulated in our bodies, but they're coming from one source. A slight variance of the range frequency, a slight dot number off, and you have another experience, you see? And that's what's happening. And so it's a way for the universe to understand and know itself and experience everything from every perspective you can possibly think of. And also, possibly, for the creator to see, will this experiment eventually funnel out or dispense all the darkness and become a universe full of light? Could this be a grand experiment? It's very possible as well.
Are you getting into we're living in a simulation?
I believe that we're living in a simulation.
I don't understand it. I don't understand when people say we're living in a simulation. I have no idea what they're talking about.
So if you understand that we're still talking about a creation, right? So we believe, most people believe that we're living in a created universe. I happen to believe so because when I look at the science, the quantum physics proves to me that someone or something created this. This isn't just pop up out of the blue and just, hey, here we are. There's a universe with people in it. So if you look at the quantum physics and what's been done recently in laboratories, scientists were able to do something incredible. They created an 8th dimensional quasi-crystal. Now this 8th dimensional quasi-crystal, it gave them a glimpse into understanding the third dimension. And this is how. When they position it in a particular angle, it created, excuse me, when they positioned it in a particular angle, it created something called a fourth dimensional quasi-crystal. And when they positioned the fourth dimensional quasi-crystal in a particular angle, it cast a shadow of a sphere. And the sphere is our universe. So they discovered that we are living in the shadow of a higher dimension. In other words, the angle of a higher multidimensional quasi-crystal potentially could be what has created this gigantic sphere we call our universe. And what's interesting about that is this is a shadow, but not a shadow of darkness, it's a shadow of light. It's a light matrix. We're talking about the spiritual technology utilized to create this entire realm. This entire realm was created with some type of spiritual technology, and this technology is so incredible, it's imbued with divine matter, divine wisdom, divine knowledge, but it's also imbued with darkness. But what's interesting about the darkness in this yin and yang, it always seems to be a battle against each other, but in the end, for the most part, the light always seems to win. Even if it takes a long period of time, the cycle happens where the darkness leaves and the light comes in. We're sitting in a room right now that's pretty well lit, right? If I was to turn on something dark, I couldn't make the light dim any. In other words, there's no darkness I can inject into this room with these physical lights that would make this room dark right now. Mm-hmm. But if I turn all these lights off and just do something as simple as turn on the light on my cell phone, the darkness will flee from that light instantaneously. So the smallest amount of light will make darkness flee. And so I take that to the universal scale because I believe it's all fractal. I believe that it's all as above, so below. And it's all about how many conscious beings does it take before the darkness flees. There's a number that we have to hit. When we hit that specific percentage of number of awakened souls on this planet, that's when it will flee. What we're talking about is obtaining Christ consciousness. I get a little emotional about this because it's so powerful. Sorry. So we're talking about this. See, Christ never said he was returning. Jesus never said he was coming back. He said that Christ will return. We're talking about this. When every single person gets this right, it's back. And we're back in the golden age.
Fascinating. On the break, we had talked a little bit about your time here and making the best use of it.
Yeah.
Let's have that conversation again.
Right. Well, you have to understand on a geological time scale, human beings have been here for less than a blink of an eye. Not even a blink, less than a blink when you look at the grand scale of time in the universe, right? I mean, think about our sun is 5 billion years old. It's a middle-aged sun. It only has another 5 billion years to go. But human beings have only been around for, like Homo sapien, 200,000 years. So you can't even, it's just the numbers are crazy. However, you have to understand that when I say a blink of an eye, I mean like we have got to do what we're supposed to do here in a very short period of time. Our lifespans are very short, and they've gotten even shorter due to everything else that's going on that we've allowed them to do to us. And I do mean we've allowed them to do. They haven't done it against our will. We've allowed it to happen because we outnumber them. And we've got to take back control of who we are, what we are, and our true power, and realize we're here to complete a mission. And the ultimate mission that we're here to complete is to bring heaven to earth. This could be part of the experiment. How many people can we help, assist, show service to others, to love, to make sure that everyone's okay, to not allow others to be oppressed and suppressed? Since we have the numbers in our favor. How much can we help to change a global economic situation and push mankind back towards this golden age and bring out the technologies that are needed to sustain this planet in a way that's green and that everyone can prosper? We have a very limited amount of time, and I believe that this experiment resets itself. It's just like a video game. Oh, they failed this time when they got to this level. Now, okay, they only sustained for, 10,000 years, and here comes the fall again. Let's see if they can do it again. Let's see if they can sustain it next time. And this 4 times we've gone through this cycle. we have less than a blink of an eye to figure out what we're supposed to do here. And everyone thinks it's supposed to wake up, punch a clock, go to work, come home, go to sleep, and do it all over again until you die. But that's not what it is. I believe the mission is, how do we create heaven here? Instead of waiting to die so you can live, how do you live now? How do you maximize what we have here now? And if we can do that, we prove something to this system, this grand divine system that says, oh, they're ready for the next level. And that's what I really believe is going on.
You know, I'm going to be honest. I think that's a great place to end it. I mean, essentially what you're saying is be a good person,
Yeah.
do good things,